Well, it's booting up right now. Let's see here. There should be, yep, easy little recording button at the top. Also, for anyone in the audience, only the speakers are being recorded, not the in-room chat. It's literally just the up-close and personal faces of everyone who's on stage.
Nice. No pressure.
But yeah, so you guys, I'm going to pull up your site real quick. I'm also going to screen share it. So I also have so much stuff running. I definitely want to check this out a little bit. Ryan was telling me about it before we had jumped on. Partial buyouts and offers for profitable online businesses. So you built this all in Bubble, I'm guessing?
So we actually built it in Webflow. So we, at the very beginning, we were like contemplating which tool to use. And I think we were a bit biased because one of our good friends who had built a startup before also built his site on Webflow. So he at least told us a bit about all the different nice features that it has. And we were like very early on also contemplating WordPress, but then like it's not really possible to build a good web app on that. So we just opted for Webflow. And we're actually very, very happy with it. We also looked into Bubble a bit, but I think that it looked a bit more daunting, probably only because we didn't have anyone else telling us that they had used it before. And we also felt that Webflow, there's so many resources out there, so many integrations already, that whenever we had an issue, we could just kind of Google it and figure out our way along the steps.
I got it. So this reminds me a little bit similar to what's it called?
Microwire.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So a lot of people compare us to Microwire as well. I think they're just really good at marketing and being top of mind for everyone. And I think they're really like great because they invigorated the space of like business acquisitions. Basically, they're a bit different to what we do because they do full acquisitions, right? So you just go there, you have your startup, and you just want to like sell it on to an investor or the next operator to take it over. What we do is just partial buyouts, meaning that you can only buy into one of these companies. So these can still be secondary transactions, i.e. the money goes to the founder, or it can be that the money is invested into the company, but the founder always stays on and keeps running the company. And then if we just look at the platform, like just from a structure basis, it's a bit more two-sided. So not only companies or founders have their own profile, but also we call them professionals, the investors or strategic partners that would buy into one of these companies. So both can like communicate with each other. So we build a little chat integration where one party can just message the other and say like, hey, we're interested in like buying into your company, or a company can vice versa go to an investor and say like, hey, I think you have a good fit as a profile. You bring a lot of expertise in the field that I am in as well. Wouldn't you like contemplate investing in me?
Really, really cool.
You know if you have any software businesses on Bits for Digits that are built with NoCode?
I don't
think we do. I think the closest we're going to get to that is probably an e-commerce that was like on Shopify or Amazon FBA.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I think most of the businesses are SaaS, and most of those SaaS are like actual like source code businesses. So
yeah, but I'm sure that's going to change in the near future because, as Laurits said, we're still fairly early days, and we don't have a crazy amount of businesses listed yet, but we're getting hopefully fairly involved in the indie hackers community. We've met a lot of people there already, and I think a lot of them, even if they are developers, are using no-code tools because it's just so much easier to really build something quickly. So I'm sure we'll see a couple more no-code tools on the or businesses on the platform very soon.
And there's definitely probably some founders in here, maybe not, maybe some in this room or some just hanging out on Entra that might be interested. Definitely suggest sharing what you guys are building and building in public because I think a lot of people will love it. But to kind of chime in on kind of the topic at hand for how to start a business with no code, I mean, I'm sure any of the three of you guys can answer this, but whenever I say I want to build X, Y, Z, why am I choosing, like, what are the factors of choosing between Bubble, Webflow, Adalo, Glide, etc.? Whoever wants to jump in.
So I think, like, for us, as I mentioned earlier, it's probably because we had a friend who had already built something with it. I think the decision was also made. We just watched a ton of like different YouTube videos and blog articles comparing all the different tools to each other. And then the big factor for us was like how many other no-code tools really integrate with this well.
So we actually made like a spreadsheet where we compared the different plugins and no-code tools that integrate with Webflow, to see, because we already knew what we wanted. Like we knew we wanted user authentication, memberships, direct messaging like chat in-app, and filters, CMS, all that good stuff. And so Webflow just happened to like check all the boxes. And as JP said, we had this friend who had a course on, I think, Udemy.
Oh yeah, it was also that.
So we could just use his account and like catch up on like I don't know how many hours, like 50 hours worth of Webflow course material. So
exactly, but we also knew like there's someone, in case we get stuck at something and the community can't help us, we can ask our friend and he'll help us along. I don't think we ever needed that, but it was very reassuring in the beginning. But I don't recommend just using Webflow just from the get-go if you've never worked with it before, because there is a steep learning curve, especially if you've never like developed any like websites before. And what we used for another business that we tested before is just Card, because I think it's an awesome like single page website builder. So we just use that as a like really, really simple MVP to test if there was some willingness to pay for the product that we were building. Unfortunately, there was none.
So this was a previous project we were building, but before this, we were experimenting with Card and some of that stuff.
So I recommend to anyone, like if you just want to build like something super simple to test if someone will be interested in paying for this or not, Card is great.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I think it's just depending on what you're trying to build, right? And yeah, if you don't have any experience building, then I would use like a tool like Adalo, because you're very limited in terms of like customization, right? Like the design's pretty much done for you in Shop. It's just like adding and dropping components. Whereas Webflow, like if you don't have things set up properly and you're editing margins and all, it can be a complete shit show.
For sure.
Yeah. So I think maybe we see also more and more of these like template shops coming up. It's not necessarily something we really used for our site or sites that we built, but I think if someone feels like Webflow might be a bit too much to just like jump into the deep end, they can just buy a nice template. I think like some of them are great and they're like $50, and that already sets up a lot of the things for someone, and then they just have to make some minor edits to make it fit their purposes.
Yeah, that's a good point. I recommend doing that if you want to learn the tool anyhow. I say the same thing to anyone trying to learn Bubble, because then you can see like best practices of like what somebody that's really good at what they do, how they build it, you know?
Exactly.
And do you guys suggest any like resources to check out? Like I want to build something on Bubble, or I want to build something on Webflow. Do you guys have like a YouTube channel you guys specifically went to, or a website that had like lots of information and learning, or would they have that on their site?
Plug your friend's course.
So I don't remember the name of the course, unfortunately, but I'm sure there's many.
But I do want to plug someone. So we've used this guy. He builds the most amazing detailed guides. His service or website is called NoCode Quest, which just has been immensely helpful to designing more intricate workflows and integrations with Webflow. So we also use a service called Integromat. Maybe I'm skipping a few steps here in the agenda, Ryan, but yeah, we're using all kinds of tools with Webflow, right? And a lot of these use cases, we have no clue, or we had no clue how to do that. And there's like these great, like no code, no problem kinds of guys out there, where NoCode Quest is one, and we got so much great help from that guy, just by sheer like YouTube videos that he makes for free. And also he makes these like PDFs, detailed written guides that you just follow step by step to create like sign up forms natively. So before we used Firebase, we integrated Firebase, but now we we've built our own user authentication and verification email form in Webflow using Integromat. So and member stack as well.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, this is pretty sweet. I've never actually heard of NoCode Quest, so this is sweet. It's a good resource. But Ryan, I mean, I have a question for these guys. You know, they're building something right now. Just in terms of like, you know, we've discussed a bit about like the building framework, right, and like picking tools and things. But I'd love to get into like the ideation framework, just because like everyone talks a lot about like how to build things with no code, but nobody talks about like what they should build or like how to test if it's worth building, and that's ultimately like the most important part. So I'd love to hear your responses to that.
Yeah, so I always feel like there's two camps. There's the camp of people that have like no ideas or don't know what to start with, and then there's probably our camp that just has too many ideas. And so what we did in the very beginning, I think we didn't really start with any tools, but we started brainstorming and ideating a lot of different ideas. Somewhere in the depths of our Google Drive, there's a document, I think it's like 60 or 70 pages of us just scribbling out and researching different ideas that we could start with. A lot of these ideas come like from different podcasts, or also a lot of like indie hackers, right? Like they build great businesses in public where you see like, oh, that's a cool idea. I wonder if I could apply something similar to like this other use case. So I think we're just brainstorming a lot. And then what we always try and understand is, because we quit our jobs for this, right? We want to make sure that this is also not a little side project. So we look at TAM, like what's the market size here? How big could this be? Is this worth us quitting our jobs over, or is this going to be like a small thing? And then also like, do we fit to this? Like, are we the right people to build this? Because I think there were a lot of really interesting ideas that we would have loved to work on, but we're not sure if we're capable of building the best product here, because we're just maybe not experts in the specific domain, or the product will be so technically difficult to execute on that it just wouldn't necessarily make sense for us.
And there's one other important thing here to mention, is that we really wanted to do this bootstrapped. So yeah, it's true that we could have done some of these other ideas, but it would require us to go out and raise a lot of funds. And for that, we would need to onboard all these venture capitalists, and they would probably tell us what to do. And that would kind of defeat the purpose of why we also wanted to do this, was to kind of like figure stuff out for ourselves. And learning how to build stuff with no-code tools really checked all the boxes for what we wanted to achieve with this as well. So
exactly, and I think like when you pick an idea, like I'm sure you guys have experienced this before. 2 months later, it's not going to be the same idea anymore. So there's a lot of iteration. We've at this point had over 100 different interviews, mostly with other founders, just to understand exactly like, are we building the right thing for like the right customer here? If not, we have to like iterate and kind of pivot a bit. So like testing everything. And I think we've gone through many different steps, and we're probably also not at the point yet where it's refined enough. So I'm sure if you check our website again in 2 months, we'll maybe have changed a thing or two here, but we're probably not doing a different idea anymore. No. But we might have like just changed the guardrails a tiny bit.
Yeah. So the point I think JP is making is that for us to stay agile and iterate, we needed to be able to like change it ourselves. So we actually were on the cusp of buying an already built platform. We weren't that close, but we were at least talking with different providers of platforms and getting demos presented to us and trying to figure out what's the cost, like buying versus making. And like we were just overwhelmed by the fact that, oh shit, we can actually build this ourselves. We don't have to buy it. We can make it. So that's what we ended up doing. But we were looking at the alternatives to just like, can someone build a marketplace for us? And we just spent all of our time on marketing and getting like users and seeding the marketplace, etc. But we ended up opting for the no-code tool solution, where we build it ourselves. And I'm so happy we did, because now we can iterate so quickly versus telling someone to do it for us, right? someone who's based in maybe Singapore or in the US. We're based in Berlin, right? So yeah.
Super powerful, and just the best thing we could have done, to be honest, because just to elaborate on that a tiny bit, I don't know how it would be for other founders if they're like looking to outsource this or build it themselves with no code tools. Like, we can always recommend build it yourself. Like, you can learn all of this very quickly. And on the outsourcing part, like, what really discouraged us is like how uncertain like a lot of these things are if you don't really understand like how all of this is built, and you always rely on an external partner to then make the changes. Are the changes going to be made adequately? Are they going to be made in time? How much is this going to cost? And a lot of those questions couldn't be answered for us, and we felt like there's so many unknown unknowns that we just wanted to be in control of the product ourselves.
Absolutely.
So now we make all the mistakes.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Shoot.
So, when you made that decision, because I'm a little confused, are these platforms, these no-code platforms, are they like free or something? Because you were talking about how you contemplated like buying like pre-made, software, or whatever. Can you talk to me a little bit about the financial differences?
Absolutely. So some of the platform providers that will build, for instance, in our case, we needed a marketplace, more or less. And some of the services would be like around like $5,000 a month, just for, I think, the actual platform itself, and then some like extra costs on top for service. And that would take us to a certain threshold in terms of users, active users, after which we would have to upgrade to the next like pricing, and that's the same for pretty much every no-code tool that we use. There is like there's some kind of limiting factor, and then you have to pay a bit more. But given the we needed less than 10 no-code tools, and each of these tools cost an average of like 10 or $15. And so that's only 150, right, bucks versus a month. Yeah. So it's all a SaaS subscription, right? And then compared to like 500 a month for someone to build it for us, we were like financially speaking, it also makes a lot more sense for us to just build it ourselves. Obviously, there's a big time commitment to building it yourself. Even if it's super easy to integrate a new tool, you're gonna hit like some like snags, and you have to reach out to the support team or read about it yourself, find a YouTube video. It is a big time commitment in that regard. Luckily, we're 2 people, so even if one of us is like in Webflow, kind of like trying to solve something, and the other one will be like doing all the other business stuff. So if you're a solopreneur and you're considering like, should I make or buy? Maybe there are some other decision factors that go into that we didn't have to worry about, but we're very happy with the decision we made, also from an economic standpoint, because we are saving money as well as being able to like quick fix and iterate our platform.
And something to consider here is that a lot of these tools also have a free tier. So we're paying for all of them, but Webflow you don't have to pay for to a certain extent if you also host on their own domain. Right, so it will be branded, and the domain will also be like .webflow.io or something. But then you can still build it for free, and it's like the full like product suite basically. I think it's like no CMS, but otherwise, if you want to get started and just like feel it out, see if it's for you, you don't even have to pay anything. And then once you like get a bit of traction, or you're like, okay, I've validated this to a certain extent, then you can start paying for it. Get rid of the branding, like make sure you have a good content management system, all that kind of stuff. But I think to get started is like just your time as a resource, but you don't really have to even put down any money.
Absolutely. Yeah, and also this is to build the first product too, right? Like if you're just trying to test an idea, if you go on Doric and like get like you can get like I think up to 3 Doric sites for $3 a month or something really cheap, and just like be testing ideas, like you can do that for like less than $15 a month.
Exactly.
So, thanks guys. So my second question is, so in the meantime, are you like looking for a tech person? what are you thinking long term, like after you validate this?
So we've already validated it. So actually, we can take this platform, like this marketplace, to about 10,000 business listings before we like hit like an actual limiting factor in Webflow because of their CMS. That's a much discussed. If you go on the Webflow forum, the number one thing that people request is like a bigger content management system. So we will hit a limit at some point where we will need a stack engineer to help us build this out, maybe Ruby on Rails or something. But until then, we can actually like run a like for profit business here by taking like, you know, using member stack, Stripe, etc., taking payments, facilitating transactions, and so forth on Webflow. So until we hit that like limiting factor, that's probably some time away. We can do it ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. So I think these tools are all super scalable. So if we want to put resources into something now, it's more user acquisition, because like, surprisingly, we managed to do the technical side already to like a fairly decent degree. The only thing to consider sometimes, it really depends on which tools you use. Sometimes their pricing scales up very significantly when you make a lot of money with them. So they sometimes take like a 4% cut, 5% cut, and then Stripe fees come on top of that. So at some point, if you run a very successful business, maybe you don't care anymore at that point. You're like just happy to make a lot of revenue. But then you're also really paying a lot of money for these tools. And that's also a point where you might then consider trading off and like going like building this internally or switching to another tool.
Or hiring someone, yeah. Like, but you have to consider like what's the salary for a full-time full stack engineer, for instance. Like it's going to be 100K if he is like in the West. So yeah, just have that in mind.
But I hope you don't mind me asking, but do you already have an idea or something you consider building?
Yeah, no. So my idea that we pivoted from like an online marketplace to basically a physical marketplace. So it's in line with the on-demand business model. So what I've explored, like I've looked at Bubble, I've looked at everything, but I was also looking at other services like Jungle Works. I don't know if you've heard about them. Yeah. So like I looked at them, I've actually been in touch with them for years now because, I used to have an idea like years ago. They have upgraded their pricing. At first they would build, like they would give you the whole thing, the whole software, for like $1,000. And then they were charging like maybe like $50 a month on the subscription side. But now, of course, when I look at their pricing, you're right, it's like, $200 for basic a month, which is crazy. So for me, right now, I'm interested in an on-demand platform. And there are a lot of people offering that on like, get this pre-made app, blah, blah, blah. But then I'm thinking about like, I was listening to the Y Combinator admissions guy the other day, and he was talking about how if you are a tech company and you apply to them and it's like you don't have a tech person on your team, like, they're going to look at you sideways.
Yeah, they don't like that.
Yeah. You said what?
Sorry, it's just like saying they don't like that.
Yeah. So like I'm thinking about it like, I mean, I get it because you do need somebody at least to manage the technical aspect. I can't do everything as the, if I'm, So, I think people should also think about that as well. Like, but just in the meantime for your MVP, I do think that is better. The no-code platforms is better than, even something like Jungle Works.
Yeah, exactly. So we also checked them out in the beginning. They didn't really suit our purposes either. I think they're great for like very specific use cases. Ours is a bit like outside of the box, I guess, because like the real transactions also happen way later and it's like a bit more complicated. So they weren't a fit for us. There's another player which is like fairly up and coming, I think, what they call Pyre, I believe. So we also took a call with them to understand their product.
Perry?
Sorry?
Is it Perry? P-A-R or P-A-I-R-A?
That might be it. Yeah. I think the founder's name was Paris, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're in the audience.
Oh, okay. Hey.
Aaron, pop up if you're free.
Shout out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we built it ourselves, but they're like, we're very, very happy. It's like a cool product.
Another marketplace tool is this one, Share Tribe. Like out of box, yeah, it's pretty nice, but it's like starts at like 119 a month or 79 or something like that. I see the pricing there. So
yeah, I think we tried those out too. They have like a free trial or something, and I just like played around with it a little bit, but again, it's like fairly limited in what you can actually change about it. It's basically
very limited
to fit your purposes, or it doesn't.
Yeah. Plus too, like you'd mentioned earlier about like the pricing at scale, like the percentage that you'd be paying back to them on top of your monthly payment is kind of ludicrous, but
yeah.
Hey guys, what about outsourcing to India? A lot of them charge really modestly, and yeah, I mean, I've talked to a couple people that say they will build the whole thing for like $300. But
oh boy.
You said what?
Oh boy, it's that's cheap. That's a cheap offer.
I know. I almost felt bad, but I'm like, I mean, it's there. It's an option.
Yeah, trust is definitely an issue. Michael just dropped in the chat. He said, stay away from India unless you have a really good contact that you trust. Yeah, so my company, Fable, my co-founder, one of my co-founders is from India. So we have our first two hires were engineers in India. But that's because like you can trust, like we trust because of him. But like, yeah, it's very hard. It's very hard.
Yeah, I think someone in the chat just said Ukraine. We also heard good things about that. Like I think there's services like Lemon.io and other networks that connect you with decent developers. I don't think it's super cheap anymore, but the question is, of course, also like if someone builds something for you and then you want to iterate and just go to the same person again and keep charging, or do you just like bite the bullet, learn for a while how to build this yourself with no-code tools, and then if you want to make a change, you can do it yourself.
Like we have used Upwork a few times for things that we couldn't solve. I think we only used it actually once, but we posted several jobs on there, most of which we had to learn ourselves and just did it ourselves. But whenever we hit like a wall and we're just like, oh, it's going to take too long to learn, we usually use Upworks, I think.
Yeah, Upwork is great.
Upwork.
I personally hate Fiverr. too many bad experiences with Fiverr, but Upwork, the quality of like our very limited data set of experiences, very, very good.
Decent.
Yeah.
Hey, Rome, I got a little input on like outsourcing. So I'm not sure if everyone can hear me okay. Am I coming through okay?
Yep. Oh, perfect.
Oh, okay, cool. So I have two go-arounds with outsourcing. So my first go-around, completely unsuccessful. I lost a lot of money. My second go-around, really successful. And there's two sides of the coin on that. So if you're going to outsource, I think you have to have a certain level of not expertise, but at least be somewhat technical. They're only going to build what you tell them to build. So if you're not exactly sure like how you want something done, it's not going to come out okay. You got to really, really guide them to extract them. It also depends on the talent as well. But if you do get someone talented, you still have to guide them because keep in mind, it's your vision. So if you guide them really well, you may be able to extract exactly what you want. And my advice there is, hold on to that resource. But also, it's not going to come cheap. So keep in mind, if you think you're going to outsource, and it depends on your product, and you're just going to get, a package of software and you're going to have a business, that's unrealistic. It also depends on how complex, the type of software you're trying to build. But if you're trying to build something a little complex, and most software is complex, you're going to need a resource ongoing. So you don't want many hands touching this, because not all developers are created equal, or they get in there and everyone has different styles and things like that of how they like to code. So, you definitely don't want to be in a situation and you have something built, someone else comes in and they say, oh, it should have been this way, but it probably was fine, but their style is different. Either way, it's going to cost you. So with that being said, have a clear understanding of what you want to build, how you want it built as well. I don't recommend early entrepreneurs try to outsource if they don't have a early level of understanding, some database technology, some code stack, so you can really, really guide them on what you want to build. Just my 2 cents there.
That's really good advice. I'd like to second that, especially you need to be able to very, very clearly tell them exactly what you want built with the designs and all that. Cause they're not they aren't I mean, some of them are, but most of the people, whenever you're outsourcing, aren't creative. They don't really care. They're building exactly what you give them, and that's
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Good advice.
Yeah. So step one, if I had to do this over, my business from scratch, super detailed mockups. Today you can do it. You could build a mockup in Webflow, any of these tools, it'll be just like how you want your app to look. But if you're going ahead and take that leap into these no-code products, might as well, learn that a little bit more. Then you'll be able to complement your developer a little bit more, and then you actually become part of the dev team. So I think that's the best route to go.
I'm sure I'm just preaching to the choir here anyway, but Figma was great for us. I think it's something, before we touched anything on Webflow, we already had a fairly decent picture of all the different functionality, all the wireframing done in Figma, because it's just so easy and quick to do, and really helps you think through the entire user experience, understand the process, and it's free.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be perfect either. I used a tool called Whimsical. It's like Figma, but whenever you're building wireframes, it's super, super lo-fi. But I took those super lo-fi frames, and then I did outsource to a guy from India, and it was from Upwork. But he basically, I was like, can you just create one of these screens that I made? I had 50 screens. I was like, can you just create one of them and show me how you would kind of translate this over to a hi-fi, and that's kind of how I went about that. And then he gave me the screen, or he did 3 screens actually, and it was great. It was great work, and I was like, now I know, I entrust, I'm not going to get screwed over, or what I have is substantial enough for him to get a clear picture of what those Figma designs can look like.
Fantastic idea. Sorry, I think someone else just joined.
Victoria.
I can't read the name.
Victoria?
Hey y'all, good afternoon. So for those that have started a business with a no-code app or service, how have y'all approached investors, or how do y'all plan to approach investors at the seed stage?
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
for it, Ryan.
Got it. No, you're good. Go ahead. I'll run it next.
So our intention at the moment is actually to bootstrap this for a while. So we've talked to some angel investors, but more to understand if they'd be interested in using a platform such as ours. They're not, at least not the ones that we spoke to, because they're more interested in very much venture type deals, and we're focusing on actually profitable online businesses. But we're also in the fortunate position that some VCs have approached us, but I think we're just like not interested in any of that at the moment. It might change in the future, but otherwise, I think there's a lot of platforms out there to like gain some traction or like message some people. And otherwise, LinkedIn is great. We've met so many people through LinkedIn or Twitter that have then like had great connections into the investing world. And I think there's no time better than now. Like I feel like there's actual pressure for them to just burn their money where they can. So I think it's if you're really interested, just reach out to some people. I don't know, like for Berlin, there's a great directory that is, I think, built by some competitor of PitchBook. But I'm sure that it's just all over the place or wherever you are. Just find a directory of investors. Could be big or small ones.
I just dropped one in the chat. Yeah, raisemyround.com. It's a good. There's like 250 plus investors in that, and they're from all over. They're open to quote outreach or like not having warm intros. But yeah, no, I don't focus on the tech, right? Victoria, it's whenever you're approaching investors, especially at the seed stage one or even like pre-seed, probably more so if you don't have anything yet. But you know, they're not necessarily investing exactly what you're building right now. They're investing in you as like a founder, and like that's like the belief capital, right? They're assuming you're going to iterate from probably what you're currently working on. But I would definitely recommend building an MVP with NoCode, because that belief can be a lot greater whenever you're going to them with an MVP and showing them like a proof of concept, people willing to pay for this, and you're scrappy enough to do it without code and not having that technical founder. Because a lot of times, like, people pitch them things and they don't have anything. They don't have a technical co-founder. They don't know how to code. They don't have an MVP. They quite literally have nothing. And so you'd be surprised at how much a little can go a long way, especially whenever you're trying to like show to them like the type of builder and the type of person you are as a founder that wants to get funded.
Yeah, and I kind of also just want to add that when you do approach them, you know, you do want to also show them what you are going to do in terms of next step. Like, what is your plan? Are you going to hire like a full-time developer, and this is what they're going to build, how it's going to look, and how it's going to be different from you know, your current MVP. So you know, just wanted to add that.
Okay. I would want to ask a question like more personal towards my case, but I don't want to take away from the theme of this talk. But for y'all, how y'all mentioned y'all quit your jobs to pursue this. So how are you maintaining your overhead these days, if I may ask? I'm going to graduate from college, and I seek to just pursue entrepreneurship from the get, and people have all different kinds of opinions on that. But I don't want to waste time, and I don't want to get stuck in the golden shackles, and I just want to pursue what my dreams are and live it as soon as possible.
That makes a lot of sense. I think you should do that. For us, we were a bit more, I guess, practical and afraid, maybe is the right term. We went the whole college mill, came out the other end overeducated in things that are not that helpful, to be honest. And then we worked for like big American companies for some years, and until we had the savings to quit our jobs, right? So that's the long and difficult way of doing it. I think the better way of doing it is just to do like Peter Thiel said and drop out of college and do something useful, like learn how to code or learn how to use no-code tools to build something that actually creates value. So, I mean, it sounds glorified to say it like that, but I think it's to some degree true. Like if you can keep your overhead really, really low, like I moved from London to Berlin because I could have much lower rent here and like much lower also like just like consumer price index here in Germany versus the UK. So that's what I did. And here I can live very frugally and go through my savings very, very slowly, building stuff that is very cheap to build. And like Ryan said, actually have an MVP and a prototype that shows a willingness to pay, and take that to investors if I ever need the money. So
yeah, maybe my 2 cents on this is also like trying to understand, like, if you have a job, can you like build something on the side and sort of validate it? And then once you feel like, okay, this is actually like, I'm quitting my job, and then, hey, it's where I already know what I'm going to be working on, and I have like some feeling of at least security, and that is worth pursuing. That's great. However, if you have a job that just takes a lot of your time, or you just can't make the time to actually like commit, I don't know, 10 hours a week to just like building something, then yeah, you just have to jump into the deep end. Like that's all. It's a bit more what we did.
Yeah, I'm in kind of. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Ryan.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. No, I was gonna say I don't. Yeah, no, I don't agree that you should drop out of college, like whatsoever. If you like, you're already in there. Just see it through. I mean, if anything, it's going to test your perseverance and your time management skills. Do it. Also, when you talk to people and receive advice, think about like we're all in different situations, and even yesterday, I think one of the hosts like created a room about like college versus entrepreneurship or whatever, and someone was like, I don't think it should be a versus situation. I think look at where you are in life, your background and everything. Can you afford to drop out of college? Can you afford to go live with your parents and just work on your idea and all of that? If you can do that, great, like do it. But a lot of people cannot. So you got to weigh those options and be smart about it, because a lot of people have built businesses by starting, doing it on the side, starting it that way, and you can do it too as well.
I would like to add, depends on your situation. Like college, you can use that to your advantage. Like, what are you majoring in, right? But if you're majoring in something that it's going to be a dead end, then leave. But you can also use college to like, it's probably the last time you're going to be around so many people. So those all could be your customers. So if you acquire a skill, you got customers literally everywhere you look. Instead of hunting for them, you start on your campus or your dorm room or something like that. So it's situational. So you can use that to your advantage. It just depends on what you want to do and what you want to build. Another big thing too is work at a startup. So learn something. It doesn't have to be so big, but just learn one skill and apply for an internship. That's the best way to like get your foot in the door. Startups, the definition of startups is they're starved for, they're resource strapped, right? So you'll be able to get into a startup if you just are scrappy enough. You just got to provide a lot of value, and the startup will hire you.
Nice. Yeah, I may have like an interesting case for y'all to just maybe like taste. But I live in Miami, and I'm about to graduate as a computer engineer. And right now, I'm taking an entrepreneurship class in my program, where we're taking a B2B concept and we're validating it in the market, like by going out and interviewing potential clients, and the clients fucking love it. So now I'm trying to set up at least some sort of income for myself by the time I graduate, so that I'm not just driving Uber, to rent. Because I mean, fuck, I get in a car accident and that's it, So I've been trying to get into e-commerce. So I mean, I know you can see success in that. It hasn't been easy learning Facebook ads and all that stuff. But I'm seeing that maybe joining a startup in Miami, if things economically get tough, could be great Yeah, well, wait, too.
One thing you have working for you is location. Miami is super hot, like no pun intended. Like for tech, Miami is actually recruiting people to come move down there so they can be a tech hub. I'm not sure if you know that. So yeah, if you studied computer, engineering, you definitely have someone in your sphere of influence to get you to the next levels. You just got to really, really crack that nut. And you just got to assess like what you can do, because you might not need anybody. Sometimes we get in our heads and we don't really assess our own skills, but you might have what you need right now to just get you to that next level. So if you studied, computer engineering, you probably have some skills already. You probably have the skill to learn definitely some no-code tools, probably over the weekend, 30 days, and sell it, right? So people need things like simple landing pages, graphics, those things you can make a decent living. And if you can move back home or something just for a short period of time, or keep your overhead low, like someone mentioned before, that's a really, really good starting point. There's tons of marketplaces to, basically exchange, those type of things.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Side note, I honestly don't even recommend getting into e-commerce, right? If you're a computer engineer, I think you're wasting your time trying to learn something new. Like, make money now doing computer engineering, because that's like what you do on the side. Like, you can do that part-time. Like, I have a friend, he's an expert at Bubble, right? And he makes like $50 an hour building shit in Bubble for people part-time. He lives at home, but now he's going to kind of go nomad style and like travel. And like me, I dropped out of college whenever I was 22, or no, I wasn't 22. Jesus. I was 20, 21. I don't remember, somewhere around there. I was in no financial and or being financially supported able to do that. But I did it. I worked at a startup, pay the bills, working on my own stuff. Like, it's just, you just have to make it work, right? And I didn't move home. I lived in Pittsburgh. Now I live in the most fucking expensive city on the East Coast, or no, not second, maybe. New York's the most expensive. I'm in Boston though. Boston's really expensive, but I make it work, and just got to figure shit out sometimes. Yeah. And that's that.
Time to get scrappy. I love it.
Being
Sweet. Sully, anything else for you? Or
I was gonna say, being scrappy is one of the best qualities in people. I might just throw that up as a post, low key. People that are, whenever you have limited resources and you can build something really great. And I think it's also really interesting too. I think the thing with NoCode that I've realized is, like, I think the best part about it is just being able to get something to market fast, or even just validate an idea. Because I meet so many people, especially like really, really young startup founders, that are like, I have an idea for this thing. Where do I start? And I'm like, all right, check out NoCode, build a wet like a landing page, and see how many people you can get to sign up, right?
Yeah.
And you can do all of that in a weekend and start driving people there without actually spending any money.
Side note too, the beautiful thing with that too is, like, all you need is, you mentioned the landing page, but you don't even need to build a fully functioning product right off the bat. Like, if you build out like how your products can work and flow and like Figma, and do customer or like user discovery interviews through that, like, you can learn so much, and you didn't spend the time to actually build out all the functional stuff. Like, I mean, obviously with you guys, what you're building, there's I feel like there's pretty clear demand for that. But also, you can't like really, I mean, you don't need to build out wireframes and take them through like a journey to show them like that, but like, if you're trying to build like a product for like teams or something like that, that may be a lot more important.
Well, I think one other thing I wanted to add to that is, like, if you do plan on building something that you actually are going to have to hard code, one of my speakers I had on last week, the founder of Lolly, Mark Bajan, I can't say his last name, I botched it. I'll send it. I'll drop his profile in here. Really awesome dude. Well, one thing he says is just go to Envato Elements and get a free template, or maybe buy a template and just throw it into Figma and start designing. I think that's one of the biggest things, because whenever someone comes to me with an idea that's like not that easily explainable, but if they can be like, yo, I have these 5 screens, like, this is what it looks like, this is how this is going to work, it makes it a million times easier. And then if they can take that and then make it into like a video demo, so anyone who does want to see it at scale, they can send it to people and be like, hey, this is what I'm building. What do you think about it? What are your thoughts? I think that's so powerful, and Figma is really freaking cool. Big fan of Figma. But yeah, any other questions coming in from the audience? If anyone wants to come up on stage and ask a question to our awesome guest, or if anyone who's up on stage, already on stage, has a question about NoCode to our awesome founders, fire away.
Just a side note, the tool that I mentioned we're building earlier, Fable, we are doing like a ton of user interviews right now and getting the beta into people's hands. So if anyone's interested in that, I just dropped the Typeform link that we're like collecting information from. So we don't even have a website up yet. We're just
rolling with it.
Fable's what kind of tool is that? Sorry, I missed that.
No, yeah. So basically, it's a Chrome extension, but so
Nice.
as teams work, each team has their own unique backend, right? So you're using ClickUp, you're using Slack, you're using Gmail, you're using all of those. Demo it. Not right now, Mike. Not right now. I literally have to leave in like 2 minutes. But if you sign up for that, I will. We can book a demo though if anyone's interested. But basically, we like serve as your front end via the Chrome extension. So you connect all like the backend tools that your team's using. And we basically allow you to comment, annotate, assign tasks, all of that over the web.
Cool. What made you want to build that?
Yeah, long story short, we were iterating from our previous business place because it wasn't scalable. It was an events-based company. And so we were running through all these different ideas, and we were going to be going through Y Combinator, and we were like talking with one of their partners actively on like the iterations. And like a common problem that we faced over and over and over again is like it was just really hard to work across all these tools because they're siloed in between web apps and desktop apps.
Right.
There was no like seamless experience, and like we're like working, they're sending me links. I'm like trying to like create Google Docs, like one-off Google Docs on like recommendations and changes, and I'm like, everything just became a graveyard of shit that we were never going to touch again. And I'm like, if I could just like drop these live on the page that any of my co-founders could like go and see and like reply back to, solve tasks, all that stuff, like it would just have made life so much easier. And so I'm excited to have it. I'm excited to like have the product like fully functioning here in the coming like 2 weeks. So
that's fantastic. Did you build that in NoCode or?
So we built the version 1 in NoCode. Yeah, it was actually built in Bubble. They have a
Chrome extension?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I would give you a demo of that here. Wait, I can start my share, but it's gonna be like, so basically like the demo of that is it's currently broken.
Okay.
But it did work. It didn't work to like the extent in which it should have worked, but it was basically like it would allow you to like highlight things on the page and then like annotate them and send them to like a central dashboard. But one of my co-founders, both my co-founders go to Yale. One of them is technical. He was the founding engineer of a YC company. So he's building that right now with our two hires, our two other engineering hires in India. So,
Nice.
but yeah, so now it's code, sadly, but that's all right.
No, that's good. I mean, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. I like the idea.
Thanks. Thank you. But I got to head off. But thanks everyone for coming. And Ryan, I'll let you take away, but I'm going to be dipping. So see you guys.
All right. That's all. Raise Ryan. Yeah. Much appreciated, guys. Good luck with everything. If you need any help, definitely introduce yourself to the community, though. I think our community would definitely love to check out your site. That way, for anyone who didn't make it to the event, can check it out later.
Yeah, amazing.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Ryan and Ryan, for having us. Really appreciate it. So yeah, we're building bits for digits. So if anyone has a profitable online business, wants to take some chips off the table, or know someone who does, just reach out to us. Or if you have any feedback, you look at the site, think it's cool, think it sucks, whatever it is, tell us. And yeah, thank you for having us.
Absolutely, and I'm all here for the feedback too. We've been getting a lot of people reaching out to us for feedback on Entra, so I'm all ears as well, and I can definitely try to dive deep into your site. I've been sending it to a couple people, so everyone here, have a great rest of your day. I'm gonna be closing this out here momentarily, so we'll catch you all.
Thanks, guys. You're great.
Thanks, guys.